Hello friends, let us continue our journey of learning classes and objects. You may recall that in the previous session we learned how to define our own data type using a structure or the class, and we did see the difference between structure and the class. We also saw that how to make the members of class private and public, and what does it mean to have a member as private or public. We also saw that how can we access the members of the class, that is if I need to use a class. See, what is class? Class is actually it defines a data type. So, when I am defining, in the previous lecture you may recall we have defined a class called time. So, when I define a class time, what I am doing is I am defining a new data type called time. Now, the class is only data type. If I wish to store the time or store time, what I need to do is I need to declare the variable of that type. It is similar to what we do with the inbuilt data types. We have the inbuilt data type called int, float. Now, these are data types. We do not store information in int or float, these are data types. If I want to store an integer value, I need to create a variable of type integer. If I wish to store the real value, I need to create a variable of type float. Similarly, class time defines a new data type called time. If I need to store time, I need to create a variable of class time, and the variable of class is popularly known as objects, and we mostly would refer class variable as objects. So, if I want to store a time, I create an object of class time, and using dot operator I will be able to access the public members of the class. Private members outside the class are not accessible, they are accessible to the member function, but outside the class they are not accessible. And we also discussed that in majority of the cases we must declare data members as private and the member functions as public. The member function should not be declared public only in the case when it is only required by the member functions, and outside the class they will not be required. Now, in this session we are going to discuss about another kind of a data member, which we say is the static data member. We will discuss the need of static data members, then we will also see the local classes, and we will also discuss about nested classes. We will see what are local classes and what are nested classes. Okay. So, first of all, let us talk about static data members. Before we discuss that how to define a static data member, let us understand the need of a static data member, that why do we need the static data member. Now, let us try to understand it with the help of an example. Here you see that we have defined a class student, and this class has members, data members like roll number, name, marks obtained and maximum marks. And it has member functions as read data, display data, compute percentage and update max marks. I will when we discuss more about static data members, you would understand the need for this particular function. Now, you would see that if I want to store the information about a student, I will declare a variable of type student, and in that variable or in that object I will store roll number, name, marks obtained and max marks for that student. If I want to store the information about one more student, I will create one more object, and in that I will store the roll number, name, marks obtained and max marks of the second student. You would see that the roll number is different for both the students. If I declare 10 student objects, every student will be having a different roll number, every student will be having different name, every student would have obtained different marks. But when you look at the fourth data member, you would see that this is the data member which does not have different value for different student. This is max marks. Now, if we are talking about these student objects which belongs to the same class, the maximum marks are going to be same for all students. Either the paper would be of 100 marks or it would be of 50 marks or 200 marks whatsoever, this value is common for all students. But marks obtained will differ roll number will differ and name will differ. But you would see that in spite of having the same maximum marks for all students, we would be storing max marks separately in all these student objects. Let us understand it with the help of this figure. Here I have defined 3 student objects, stud1, stud2, stud3. These 3 are objects of student class. When the control comes into this scope, the memory will be allocated for stud1, memory will be allocated for stud2 and memory will be allocated for stud3. Now, how much memory is allocated for object? The memory allocated for the object is sum of the memory needed for all its data members. So, now each object will have a memory to store roll number, name, marks obtained and maximum marks. You would see here that roll number would be different for all the 3 students, name will be different for all the 3 students and marks obtained will be different for 3 students, but you would observe that maximum marks will be a common value for all. For example, let us assume that these are the values which are held in these 3 objects. So, these are 3 different objects, these are the objects to store the data of 3 different objects, students having roll number 1, 2 and 3, having the name Amit, Anita, Vinay, and the marks obtained by these 3 students are also different 35, 40 and 38, but you would see that maximum marks are common in all the 3 students. So, what are we doing? That we are creating a separate copy of maximum marks, though it is common for all the students. Now, what is the problem in having multiple copies of this value which is common for all? One, that we unnecessarily are occupying memory for storing this data at 3, 10, 50, 200 as many objects that we create of student class. At that many times we would store this particular value, wasting that much memory, whereas this could have actually been stored at a single place which would have occupied just 2 or 4 bytes, right. So, this is one problem that we would end up wasting memory. Apart from that, we also have the problem that when we want to update this value which is common for all the students, we will have to go and update it for every single object, and if we forget to modify one of them, there will be inconsistency in data. Let us see this again with the help of an example. Now, see, let us say if later on I come to know that the maximum marks are not 50, it is 40, I need to now update it. So, where I need to have an updation? I need to go and update it in all the 3 students, student 1, student 2, student 3. How do I do that? I will have to go and say stud 1. Now can you see that why we had this particular function update max marks? Because this we can use to update the marks. You would recall that the max marks data member is private. So, from main function I cannot directly update it, but I can have a function update max marks using which I can update the max marks. So, what I would do? I would invoke this function on student 1 and second student object, and in the third object if I would have had 10 student objects, I would have had to do it 10 times, 50 then I have to do it 50 times. So, this is very cumbersome, it is a common value, a single value, but still I need to go and update this particular value in every object, even if I know that this value is going to remain common for all that all these objects. And one more even more severe problem with this kind of arrangement is that if I forget to update it in the third student, what would happen? For first 2 students the maximum marks will be 40, and for the third students it will turn out to be 50. So, for the first 2 students the percentage would be computed from maximum marks out of 40, and in the third one it would be computed as percentage will be computed as 50. So, you can clearly see the inconsistency of data. So, the problem with the data members whose value is going to be common for all the objects of that class is that modification is cumbersome, there can be inconsistency in that particular data, and we unnecessarily end up wasting a lot of memory. So, is there a better way to deal with data members which are common to all the objects? because the way we have done it, it's not a great idea to do it or to manage this all this in that particular fashion, and we had seen that problem also. So, we would be happy if we have a better way of dealing with those data members which are common to all the objects. So, the question is, do we have any other way? Well, the answer is yes, we can make such data members static. Now, we can make such data members static. So, let us try to understand that how to make a data member static and what does it mean to make a data member static. Well, to make a data member static, we will be using the keyword static before the declaration of that variable, and once I define a data member as static, the static member will be shared by all the objects of the class, and rather than having one copy of that data member in each object, we will be having a one copy which will be common for all the objects. And all static data members are initialized to 0 when the first object is created, if we do not initialize it with some other value. We cannot initialize the static data member in the class definition, but it can be initialized outside the class. So, let us understand with the help of an example that how to create, how to use the static data, how to define a data member as static, and what would be the implications of defining the data member static. So, let us use our student class only, in which we have a data member which is common, which is going to hold the common value for all the objects. So, what I can do over here is, or what we can do over here is that we can define this data member as static. Now, the moment I define this data member as static, the memory for this data member will not be allocated in individual objects. This data member will be having one copy, and the memory allocated to this data member will be outside the object. And because the memory is not allocated to this particular data member inside the object, we need to redefine this data type outside the class. And you must have guessed it by now that the reason is that the memory to a variable is allocated when we enter the scope where that variable has been defined. So, what is the scope of an object? The scope of an object is the block in which it is being defined. So, if I define a object inside a function, the scope of that object is only that function. So, it is only available in that function, and its lifetime is also the time for which that particular function is executing. So, when we enter that particular function, the memory will be allocated. The moment we exit that function, the memory will be deallocated. Now, this data member max marks is static data member. It will not have memory allocated in the object, it will be allocated outside, and that common copy will be used by all the objects of the class student wherever we may define. One object we may define in main function, one may define in another function. So, wherever I define the object, in whichever scope I define those objects, they all will be using this common copy. So, when does that common copy gets created? So, to make this task of understanding the scope and lifetime and the time when this common copy has to be created, we need to define the static member outside the class. So, that helps the compiler to define the scope of the common data member of this class, which is static. Okay. So, let us have, so what we have done is we have defined this max marks as a static, and even though I have defined it inside the class, I am defining it outside also, and here it is possible for me to initialize this static data members. So, now let us see the impact of having this fourth data member as static. Now, earlier you must have seen that for every object we had the memory allocated for 4 data members: roll number, name, marks obtained, and also max marks. But since now we have defined the max marks as a static data member, therefore, the memory for that fourth data member is not defined in object. So, it is not defined in the first object, the memory for max marks is not provided in second object, and similarly it is not there in the third object. There is a separate copy created of max marks, and that would be used by all the 3 objects, or this will be accessible to all the 3 objects. Now, what is the advantage of this having a single copy outside the object? One, that we are saving memory. We are not replicating it in every particular object. If we would have replicated in all the 3 objects, we would have created 3 copies, and we would have needed 3 memory locations for 3 memory location, and max marks is integer, and if we assume that it occupies 2 bytes, we would have required 2 bytes here, 2 bytes here, 2 bytes here, in total 6 bytes. If I have 10 objects, then I require 20 bytes. If I have 100 student objects, then I require 200 bytes, but the moment I make it maximum marks, there is only 1 copy. So, no matter how many objects of student class are created, only 2 bytes will be occupied to store max marks. Now, let us assume that these objects have these values, what we have assumed earlier. The first student objects student object has roll number 1, name Amit and 35. Similarly, second object has value 2, Anita and 40, and third one has 3, Vinay and 38, and let us say the max marks has the value 50. So, apart from saving memory, you can also see that the another advantage we would have it, that whenever we want to modify the max marks, we do not have to go and modify it in every object, because the memory is not given to this data member in the object, there is only 1 copy. So, we just have to modify that single copy. So, modification becomes simpler. Now, how do I do that? I can invoke again the update max marks function. Now, we know that update max marks is the member function of the student class. So, for the invocation of that particular object, I need an for invocation of that function, I need an object. The member function of any class cannot be invoked without object. So, if I want to invoke a member function of a class, I need to invoke it by means of one object of that class. So, what we are doing here is that here we are invoking it as stud1 dot update max marks. Now, see, I am using student 1 object, and this does not mean that it somehow looks like that as if I am updating the maximum marks of student 1, but actually I am not updating the maximum marks of student 1. What I am doing it, I am trying to update this common copy which is common for all the objects, but I am invoking it on stud1 object, because as I said that the member function cannot be invoked without any object, and therefore, I have to use an object to invoke that particular function. So, once I do this, what will happen? I just have to modify it only once. Using any one of these objects, I can invoke this particular function. I can also say, instead of this, I could have said stud2 dot update max marks 40, or I could have said stud3 dot update max marks. All of any this would have modified this common copy. So, now I have to modify it only once. Even if I have 100 copies, that is 100 objects of student class or 500 objects of student class, I just need to invoke this function once on any of the objects of the student class to modify or update these values, and this modification will be now reflected to all of them. So, here we also do not have the chance that by mistake we forget to update the maximum marks in some of the student objects, having a discrepancy in the data and inconsistency in the data, creating major issues with the computation that we do. But as I said, when I invoke it using stud1, it does not look very convincing, because the statement gives a feeling that I am trying to update the maximum mark for student 1, but actually I am not doing that, I am just trying to update the common copy. So, if you think and see carefully, you would see that the static data members are not object variables. They are not members of objects. So, they do not belong to an object, they belong to the class. So, we also call static data members as class variables or class members, and as we can define the static data member, we can also define a static member function. We will take more example of static member function when we discuss functions in C++ detail in the further module, but just let me use this static function once to make this problem of using a specific object to modify the common copy. If I use static member functions for doing so, the code would be more convincing. Let us see how. So, here I am defining the update maximum marks as a static function. The static data member and static member function both do not require to be invoked through an object, as why, as we have already discussed that these functions and they do not belong to a object, or they are not associated with a specific object, they are actually for the entire class. So, once I define the static member function, I will be able to invoke it like student scope resolution operator update max marks. Now, this kind of invocation of function I can do only for static member functions. If it is a non-static member function, I need an object for its invocation, but since update max marks is an static member function, therefore, without object its invocation is possible. Only thing is that we will have to specify that this function is the member of student class, and that we can do with the help of scope resolution operator out there. As the static member function does not require an object, similarly the reference to a static data member also does not require an object. But since the max marks data member is private, it is not possible for us to directly access in main. But if this would have been a public data member, for example, if instead of private, if we bring it into public section, if we make it public, we could have also done the initialization this way. Now, since max marks is a public member of the class, it is possible for us to access it in the main function as well. Since this is a static data member, therefore, it does not require a object to access it. We can simply specify the name of the class and use scope resolution operator to access this. So, that is another way of doing it. Now, you would see that the use of static data members makes the use of a data member which is common for all objects much more easier. It makes its updation easier, and it does not leave any scope of inconsistency in data, because there is only one copy. If we do not make it a static data member, there are multiple copies. So, we waste memory. The updation also require updation in every single copy, and since there are so many copies, while modification there is a possibility that we may forget to modify some of the copies, and that may result into the inconsistency of data. So, static data members are a very good idea, and whenever we have a data member which is common to all the objects, it is a good idea to make it a static data member. The only limitation of static data member is that to some extent it violates encapsulation, because it is now going outside the object, and it also in some ways some cases might also result in violation of data hiding. But you just have to weigh the advantages that we have and this. So, if we make it a static data member, maintaining an application will be much more simpler. So, sometimes for manageability of application, we may overlook the limitation, and we would decide to go for making such data members which are common to all objects static. Now, the classes that we define, we can have many data members into it. As a data member of a class, we can have all inbuilt data types, we can have integer data member, character, float, we can have array as a data member, we can also have structure as a data member, we can also have a class as a data member, the object of class as a data member of another class. And when we want to do so, sometimes we may want to define one class in another class, and once we do that, we call such classes as nested classes. So, it is possible to define one class within another class, which we call as the nested class. Now, when we would want a class to be defined in another class, sometimes it may be possible that you may have some data members which you want to define as an object of another class. For example, in our student class, if we want to have one more attribute called date of birth, which defines date of birth of where we wish to store the date of birth of the student, we may want to have an object of a date class as the data member. Let us see with the help of the example, let us see the class. See, here we have a student class which had 4 members earlier, roll number, name, marks obtained and max marks. Now, we wish to have one more data member, date of birth. This data member we want to define as the object of another class, date, because date again is an entity which can better be represented as a data type in form of a class. So, you know that whenever we declare a variable, we give the name of the variable which is preceded by the data type. So, roll number is the name of the variable which is preceded by data type int, name is the name of the variable which is preceded by the data type character. Similarly, DOB is the variable name which is preceded by this data type called date. So, DOB is an object of type date because we wish to store a date into it. Whenever we define a class inside the object, now this class will be available to all the members of this class. Now, let us say if we want to read an object of class student, that we can do with the help of this function called read data. Here we can read the roll number like this, because roll number is the member function of the student class, therefore, it is available to the member function read data. Read data is a member function of class student, all these members are accessible to it. But roll number, name and marks obtained can be read like this, but when it comes to reading the date of birth which comprises of 3 values, day, month and year, we would like to, or we would want to write something like this, but this will not work. Why it will not work? It will not work because day is the private member of class date. Since it is private member of class date, it is only accessible to the member function of date class. Now, here we are trying to access day in read data, which is member function of student, but not the member function of date. Therefore, it is not accessible here, that therefore, we will not be able to write this. But this function read data for date class, read date of the date class is the public member of date class. Therefore, invoking that function in read data is possible, because this is a public member and hence it can be accessed over here. So, this way we can read it. So, we can invoke this, which in turn would read day, month and year, that is how we can read it. Now, what is the fun in defining one class in another class? As we said that whenever we want to have a data member which we want it as an object of another class, we would want to define it as a nested class. But once we define that class within another class, the inner class becomes local to the outer class, and therefore, it is only available to the class in which it has been defined. And what is class? It is a data type. So, now what we have done is we have defined a data type local to a class. So, a object of that data type will only be able to define inside that class, but to the outside function it will not be available. What I mean, you can have a look over here. Here see, this do work function is a member function of student class. So, if I want to define a date object called today, I will be able to define it. But if I want a date object to define a joining date in main function, I will not be able to do that. Why I will not be able to do that? Because this date class is local to student class, therefore, it is only accessible in the member function of student class and it not accessible in any function which is outside the student class, and main is not the member function of student class, it is outside main. Therefore, accessing this data type defined inside the student will not be accessible. So, what do we do? Well, rather than defining a class inside another class, the better idea could be that the inner class that we wish to define, that we define outside the class. For example, here what we can do is, instead of defining the date class inside the student class, we should take it outside the student class. So, when we take it outside the student class, the advantage is that we can have, since it has been defined outside the globally, it is also available, this data type is also available to the student class. Therefore, we would be able to define a variable called DOB like this. So, this DOB date is data type is available in student class, it is also available in any of the member functions. So, within these functions also, if we want to create an object of this class, we will be able to do it. Not only this, since it is globally defined, this is defined outside the student class, therefore, this will also work, because now this definition is no longer local to student and it is now available to student class as well as it is available to all other functions that we define in a program. So, this is a better scenario, better way of handling this case. Apart from defining the class inside another class, it is also possible for us to define a class within other functions. And once we define a class within a function, we call it a local class. Why we call it a local class? Because this definition becomes local to main. So, now I am defining a data type within main. So, this data type becomes local to main. I will be able to create an object of this type only in the main function. So, this is fine, I can do that. Within main function, I can create an object of this data type, that is time, current time, but if I have another function in my program called demo and I try to create an object of type time, I will not be able to do it. Again, the reason is same, that this time data type is local to main function. So, it is only available within main function, and if any function outside this main function tries to use it, it would not be able to use it. So, here also what we should do, here again the better idea is to define this class globally rather than defining the class locally. What does that mean? That instead of defining this class time inside the main function, I should define it outside the main function. Once I do this, I will be able to create the object of class time in function main. Also, I will be able to create the object of time class in function demo. So, the advantage of defining the class time outside the main function or globally is that this definition is available in all functions and I will be able to create the object of this class in all the functions that I define in my program. Today, we discussed about the static data members, nested class and the local classes, and what we discussed was that we can define a class member static using static keyword, and a static member is shared by all objects of the classes and there is only one copy of the static member that has been created. And because of that, because of defining a common data member as static, it would help us save memory. It also makes modification simple and consistent. We have also learnt that we can define the classes inside another class which we call nested class, and we can also define a class within a function, and once we do that, we call it a local class. So, it is possible for us to define a class which is nested in another class or which is local to another function, but the better idea is that the class should be defined outside, because what class defines is a data type. So, data type should be defined globally. When we intend to create an object of that class or a variable of that class, that should be done locally. So, objects must be defined locally, but the classes must be defined globally. Well, we defined the classes so far, we tried creating objects of those classes. It is also possible for us to create array of objects, it is also possible for us to create pointer to an object and it is also possible to assign object of one type to the object of same class, another object of same class. Now, all these things again needs some discussion, and we need to take help of some examples to understand them better, and that we are going to do it in the next module. So, be there in the next module, so that we can understand more about classes and objects. So, this is all for now, and I look forward, and I am sure that we will meet in the next module to discuss more about classes and objects. Thank you.